Let's begin with Xandria Quichocho, who is a research associate at the Michigan State University and is a organizer of the association Blacks in Physics. She will first share with us her personal experience as a woman following this very masculine field, which is physics, and she will come back later during the discussion part to talk about the Blacks in Physics Association. So Xandria, why did you embrace science, and have you personally faced hindrances during your training and career, or witnessed a person going through some difficulties simply because of her gender type?
Yeah, first, thank you for having me. I know I said I didn't have any slides, but I found some slides because I don't want to talk the entire time without giving some visuals. So I'm going to show those while I talk. I first wanted to thank the people I've done my research with. Most of my research has come from Texas State. I'm not going to be talking about research though, don't worry. Most of my research has come from Texas State University. And so these people have really mentored me and helped me through the physics field. And without them, I would not be where I am today. And so a little bit about me. My name is Xandria Raymond Quichocho. I actually started, overall, I started my university and my physics career studying music education at a small private liberal arts college. And I think what really drew me to science was this idea and this feeling of wanting to be curious and wanting to learn more about how the world works and how to understand the world. And like, I still love teaching music. I play the cello. And I still teach cello, I would teach piano, I play the ukulele on the weekends just for fun. But I realized my passion doesn't have to be my career. And so I really wanted to learn more about the universe and more about the world. And so I ended up transferring to Texas State University. We are a large public institution in Central Texas. We are Hispanic serving institutions. I believe about 44% of our students identify as either Hispanic or some other racial minority. So it was a really wonderfully and especially diverse program that I was coming into, which was really beneficial for me, having grown up in San Antonio, a primarily Hispanic community. So it really felt like home almost. And like I was able to relate to the people who were in my program in a really special way. My original goal when transferring into physics was to do astrophysics because I love space. I am a big Star Trek nerd. But I ended up in physics education research, really trying to understand student experiences and students' experiences who were like mine. And so that really also helped me through this. I was able to work through the curiosity and understand how the world works inside of my classes, while I'm also learning how learning works and how students learn science and how to help better their science learning experiences, which was really fantastic. So I graduated in December 2019, and I'm currently pursuing my PhD in physics at Michigan State University, continuing my physics education research. And so I'm going to talk a little bit just about my general experience in terms of intersectionality. This is just a leftover slide. So my big thing is physics identity. But I like to understand my experience through this term intersectionality. It allows researchers and theorists to understand multiple forms of inequality and equity that is present in different environments. And inside of physics specifically, it is really important to look at the inequities that we face inside of this intersectional lens, because my experiences inside the physics department are not just one of a gender minority or one as an Indigenous and Black person. All of these things have helped shape me, have helped shape my experiences and continue to shape my experiences inside of the physics field, which is traditionally white and very masculine. And so to give a bigger picture, and also talk about me a little bit more, to give a bigger picture of what intersectionality looks like inside of my life, and also to show pictures of my family, who I love so much. I have 3 sisters, and in the bottom corner is my entire family, including my in-laws and my sister's husband's family. But all of these pieces make up who I am, and they all make up how I interact inside of the physics classroom. So I am Black and Indigenous Chamorro, which is the Indigenous group from the island of Guam. I have a whole Guam wall behind me. It's very exciting. I am bisexual. That does play a part in how I interact with my students and how I'm able to talk to my students and relate to them. I do identify, this is Mostly recent. I identify as non-binary and I use all pronouns because why not? I think they're all great. Um, and I am feminine presenting. And so I have lived most of my life identifying as a woman and understanding the world through that gendered lens. And so, like I said, this is a very new and ongoing negotiation. I am a daughter, I am a sister, I am an auntie, I have a couple of nieces and nephews. I grew up lower middle class, which has a really, really big impact in how I came into school and the resources that I had available. I am a student, and this is my mentor, Dr. Eleanor Close, who is honest. Without her, I would not have been able to get through school. Um, and like I said, all of these pieces make up who I am, and they make up how I interact inside of the physics classroom. Um, and like in terms of hindrances, these also play into the hindrances that I have faced through these intersectional lenses and through the idea of inequality and inequity. Specifically thinking about microaggressions going through school, being in primarily white spaces and then primarily male spaces, I started to like think about my gender identity and my race mostly when I was encountered and inside of these primarily white spaces, particularly at my first university. That was a predominantly white institution. And so I really got into thinking about social justice and just how I interact with the world and how my peers interacted with the world and how different that really, really was. And one of the things that I really, really needed was this idea of community and this idea of support within the physics field whenever I transferred. That's also one of the things that was missing inside of my initial university. But even with finding these support networks like the the American Physical Society's National Mentoring Community. They have an annual conference. This was back in 2018 in Palo Alto, which is a community made up of predominantly minority students and minoritized students, mostly underrepresented racial minorities and Black, Indigenous people of color, and their mentors who were physicists inside of their departments, inside of their faculty members. So I was able to find community through them. And through them, I was able to like talk and negotiate the different experiences that I had just trying to get through the field. Because while my department was extremely supportive and they were able to work with me through things I needed them to work with me with and really, really support me and like understand that I am not just a student, that I am also a human being. In the broader College of Science and Engineering, I had been told multiple times that I couldn't register for classes because I was going to fail them, that maybe I should like think about choosing a different major just in case, have like a safety minor is what they called it at some point. So pursuing a minor just in case I wasn't able to make it inside of the physics department. Have all happened multiple times. And they've also happened to the people who I found inside of this community. So being able to be part of a community of people who have similar experiences really, really motivated me and continues to motivate me to like pursue this even greater physics degree as a PhD student. And even more than that, having like a very specialized community is also really important. So this was I do a lot of conferences and I really, really miss conferences. This conference was specifically talking about equity in discipline-based education research, so over all fields. And so it was a really, really fantastic way to talk about the equity issues that we face as both people inside of the community, as people with minoritized friends in the community, but also as education researchers and what we're actively doing to face and fight this inequity and what we can do as educators to support our students and to support our minoritized students especially. So I was an undergrad when I attended this conference. I wasn't like in a fully teaching role, which was a really, really awesome space to be in and helped. And like the connections that I made ultimately led me to Michigan State University, where I am right now, even though I'm technically still in Texas. And so this was like the last conference I went to, again, the National Mentoring Community Conference. It was making friends there and finding people there. And realizing that I wasn't the only one who had gone through these like specific racialized and minoritized experiences, that I wasn't the only one who had been told, oh, maybe you should try a different major. Like maybe you should just like, you did music for 2 years. Like maybe you aren't like cut out for science. Maybe you were supposed to be in music. really, really helped me. And connecting students through these experiences and finding other students who are like them is immensely important to actually supporting and retaining them inside of the field. And so a general where I like to end is introducing students to bodies of work that are done by Black, Indigenous, people of color scholars that are specifically around diversity, equity, and scientific research. There's this amazing group of up and coming Black, Indigenous, people of color doing amazing science research that we can cite and we can find as junior scholars who really, really write for a broader audience. And so real quick, I have some contact information. I have a QR code that leads to all of my research if you wanted to look more about that. And yeah, again, thank you so much for having me here.